Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Protein Bros. I am one of your hosts, Jeff, and I want to say today was a good day. And today we have an awesome episode with Paige Donovan, who is the owner of Class, which is a bootcamp style gym that is located in Shawnee and soon to be opening in Overland Park, Kansas. And we're about 6 weeks out from them opening. They said they were going to be opening around mid-October. So as this is released, just a little bit of time left before they open up that second location. Paige is a wealth of knowledge. She's been through a lot in her life. She's fully dedicated herself to fitness, to gymnastics. She did competitive cheer for years. She's taken all of that and shares that story about what she had to go through and puts it into how she's put all of that same kind of energy into her business, into her community, and their beautiful gym. So tune into the podcast. You guys are going to really love her. And as always, we appreciate you listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, please do. And let's get right into the episode. Love you guys. Did you see the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce post where they got engaged?
I did.
What were your thoughts on it?
Are you a Swiftie is the hard-hitting question, so we want to open this with.
I'm an ally. I'm a Swiftie ally.
I don't even know this term. What's the ally?
You're saying it with shame.
I made it up. I made it up the other day, actually, coaching a class because someone had mentioned it. They're like, you don't really play a whole lot of Taylor Swift. Do you like Taylor Swift? And I was like, I do. She has some bops, but I'm not like, I'm going to spend all my money and buy every album and post on my story.
You're making Jeff sad because Jeff is that person.
What are you talking about? You're not looking for the Easter eggs?
No. But I like other pop stars that work with her.
Yeah.
And so
Sabrina Carpenter?
Yeah, I'm
You're
a big
Sabrina fan?
Carpenter fan.
Same.
So I like her a lot. But
Jeff got mad at me the other day because I didn't know who that was.
she's great.
Mike,
She's been doing this for a long time too. It's cool to see.
Been a fan
all her
since
hard work
2015.
play off.
2015.
Wait,
Wow.
so
She doesn't even acknowledge my favorite song that she made.
Oh my gosh, she liked
Let's Make the Whole Year
video
Christmas. Best Christmas
right?
song.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe you don't acknowledge that song. It's the best song.
I can't. When you say that name, I don't even know what she looks like, or any song. Zero songs.
Shame on you, dude.
Jeff was like, you would know all of her songs if I played it for you.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
She's every radio station.
So you kind of
right now.
wish that Travis Kelce was marrying Sabrina Carpenter. Is that?
I
Not
don't
a big
think
Kelsey
so.
fan either,
No,
huh?
I
Look at you.
love. Don't get me wrong. I love Chiefs. I have a birthday party tomorrow that I'm going to, and I'm kind of sad that
You got to say, put on the game.
Throw her up. Luke, throw her up.
Yeah,
Kyle, you don't know this girl? That blue picture down there? Never seen it?
I feel like I've seen that on social media recently. Is that a new picture?
I believe it's her profile pic.
it's
or something like that.
I think
Me
you
espresso.
showed me
Probably
that.
the man's best friend.
You showed me that
There you go.
picture when I said I didn't know what she looked like. That's where that looks.
Possibly. I'm just saying, she was like a Disney Channel girl, dude. Like it's like not knowing Hannah Montana.
Well, I also didn't watch a lot of Disney Channel either. So
her inspo is Hannah Montana.
Pop culture.
She got her claim to fame from doing a Hannah Montana competition when she was a kid.
Well, let me sit back and learn. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, there was. Well, you know what? I know about it because I wanted to do it as a kid, and my parents were like, "No," and they're like, "You're not doing that." And I didn't know about that later until I was older, and I learned some stuff about Sabrina Carpenter, and I saw that, and I was like, "See, Dad, that could have been me. I could have been Sabrina Carpenter."
And there is the perfect segue that I knew we would get to, mentioning Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and that is when you were a child, you wanted to do that, but instead you picked competitive cheer and gymnastics, and that
I did.
led you down a long path that we're going to get into right this instant. Paige.
Awesome.
So you decided, all right, how did you decide, because you're athletic, how did you pick gymnastics or competitive cheer over the other sports that are out there, or did you do them all?
I was so bad at every other sport. My parents put me in soccer, and all the girls I was friends with growing up in elementary school, Dad coached the team, and we did it, and I was,
Were you the smallest? Because Kyle mentioned that the bigger girls do better.
Listen. I said the taller girls do better.
I checked you, and you said taller.
At the
you did start
at
with
the
taller.
7-year-old level.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that changes as kids get older, but right now it's just, are you aggressive and are you tall?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I was the smallest and playing in the dirt, doing cartwheels, and
The dandelion girl.
I was the dandelion girl. I made all the bracelets for the team.
So what got you into cheerleading then?
Yeah.
Was it just by like elimination? You were like, there has to be one sport that I can do?
Yeah, kind of. You know, one of my best friends was a gymnast growing up. I still see her to this day. But she was like my best friend in elementary school. And she at recess, you know, she'd be doing back handsprings and I'd be like, you can teach me. And she's, you know, we were both teeny tinies and she'd try to spot me in the grass and we'd be like, I'd fall on my head. And we were just kind of like doing stuff in the yard. And I was like, I want to be like Katrina. I want to be like Katrina. She does gymnastics. And my parents were like, well, you're not going to get into gymnastics. And I tried it once when I was like 5 because I was little and would climb the walls. And my parents were like, she'd be great at this. I came home crying every day and was like, this is horrible because I was super dramatic. I don't know. I just didn't stick for me when I was little. And so they're like, we're not going to try again. And then they're like, well, you can do some tumbling. So I did some tumbling classes and I loved it. And then I picked it up really fast when I was in middle school. So I got into tumbling and then she started doing competitive cheer and she started doing cheer. And then I was like, well, now I want to do cheerleading. And then we did like a rec team in middle school together. And they started like this like performance team from the rec program, which was super fun. And so a bunch of girls from other schools did that. And then next thing you know, we're doing competitive cheer in high school. So
I got to ask this question about cheerleading because
I had a good question about cheerleading too.
Maybe it's the right one. Maybe it's the same one.
Maybe it is.
But we have a lot of dudes that listen to this podcast, Paige. And we always think of cheerleading as guys, and I'm speaking for all of us now, as like, you know, shouting, you know, cheering and leading said cheers.
Correct.
And then like, at what point does it morph into being dance and gymnastics, which also exist on their own?
Yes.
Completely.
Yes.
So when you do the rec
Do you
gymnastics
dance
and you don't have a team, or is the team like a boys and girls club football team or something like that?
So that's what we started with. That recreational is what we did, and then they kind of created a like performance thing. And the thing is about competitive cheerleading, it's
competitive cheer, there's no team.
Yeah, it's not
cheering for
cheerleading at
anybody.
all. Yeah, no, it's not cheerleading. It's
a hybrid of dance and gymnastics
and stunting, which is there's a whole other realm of.
They fly in the air,
world.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Have you never seen?
Are you serious, dude?
Yeah.
Best movie of all time is
Bring It On, of course. Yeah,
It
a
is,
classic.
it is.
Dude. Unbelievable.
A
You come at
classic
me like
movie.
that.
I
Of course
forgot.
I know that movie. Right?
Yeah.
But my sister was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kyle's was too at some regard. But like you're in a situation where like, we're just trying to figure it out. Like competitive cheer doesn't exactly mean you're attached to a team as far as like a sports team.
Yeah.
And you're not really leading many cheers.
Right.
So do you have to cheerlead during competitive cheer?
No. So actually when it first started, so early 2000s, late 90s, there used to be, and when you do a routine, it's a 2-minute, 30-second routine. There's tumbling, jumping, dancing, stunting, and pyramids. And then back then there used to be a like 10 to 15 second cheer. And so like our cheer gym that I coach at, we would joke that like we had our own cheer and stuff. And you used to like in the middle of your routine, you would stop and you'd like do your cheer and then the music would start again and then you'd keep going. That got phased out early 2000s. And it's now more just music's on, you don't stop, you tumble, stunt, throw baskets, pyramid, all that stuff. So it just kind of has morphed into its own thing. And that's why it's still called cheerleading because that's what it used to be. So it just needs a new name.
Very unique. What's the length of like a program?
Like a season?
No, I apologize. Like a performance.
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's brutal. That's crazy.
You can travel across the country for a 2-minute and 30-second routine.
Luke, you got to find some videos of this. My question as a dude, because this is the way that dudes.
Team name, whatever that team name is.
So I coach at Kansas City Athletic Cheer, and I was on a team called Platinum. So that's our world's team. I also cheered at a gym in Oklahoma called Twist and Shout, and they have a team called Obsession that I was on.
Obsession.
Yeah.
I got a question for you because this is the way dudes think about sports is there a Michael Jordan of cheerleading? Like, is there the Tiger Woods of cheerleading
if you will,
we don't know about?
The Mia Hamm of cheerleading, if you will. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
There's several people. They don't really refer to them as this anymore, but when I was in high school, the big thing was cheer leopardies.
Ooh.
And it was just
they're cheerfluencers now,
right? No, that's literally they were like pre-influencers before influence. It was when Instagram first became a thing, and these girls are in high school and they had hundreds of thousands of followers, and a lot of them, they were all very talented. Some of them were super famous because of their hair and their abs, and like people just loved to look at them and look like them and wanted to be these girls. So our generation had different cheerlebrities. I would say the original cheer celebrity is Whitney Love, which actually she was at Oklahoma State when I was there. She was the first girl, I believe, to ever do what's called a standing double. So it's like what I was talking about with the standing full. You do a backflip, but you spin twice, and it's literally from like a stand.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Super
She's so
athletic.
talented.
Yeah.
And her mom is very big influence in the cheerleading community. We have a good relationship with her, Debbie Love, and she's awesome. So the Love family is great. But she would say I was like the original
How many
superstar.
face plants do you have to do to eventually do something like that?
Hundreds. And when I coach, I try to tell these girls, because I feel, I'm like kids these days, but
They're not as tough as they used to be.
I'm like, they'll be like, I'm going to fall on my head. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Yay. And like, they'll fall
Just
and crash.
don't break
but
your
I'm-
neck.
Right. And that's so unlikely though, with the training that we get. Like, you can train your body to know what to do when you attempt a skill. Like, you don't just go for it for the first time. There's so many drills and things that you can do that if they attempt it, they're going to be safe for the most part. And we have so many things to prepare them and train them for nowadays that it's so much safer. But, I always tell kids, I'm like, I'd rather you try it and fall on your hands and knees and fall than,
Yeah, how do we get any better otherwise?
not do it.
I
Oh, look at my girls. You know what? I think I'm right on the side over there with the visor
side?
on. Yeah, look at me going crazy right over there. Yeah, that's me and my friend Riley.
Sweet visor.
Yeah.
Dude, so Simone Biles has a handful of moves named after her, right? Mm-hmm. Does this Whitney Love have her own move?
I don't think so. We don't really
they do that in
'cause
cheerleading?
in cheer, there's such limited skills you can do. You can't necessarily do new things. I will say there's basket tosses. That there was a few years ago
Whoa.
a basket toss named after a girl that was at a gym. In her parents' own Top Gun, I believe, which is a huge gym in Miami.
Yeah.
So
you're a
Those have made it
coach.
into
Yeah.
some documentaries.
You're a coach.
Yeah.
Let's say your only thing that you had to do is you had to teach Jeff to do a standing tuck.
Back
How-
tuck?
how
Maybe you don't
long-
have to teach me. I already know how to do it.
How long do you think it would actually take him? He can't touch his toes, so keep
don't
that in
have to.
mind.
Closest I've ever been.
you actually, you know what? Especially with people in fitness, I would start training people with things like plyometric training, like box jumps, and maybe learning to do those going backwards and doing stuff backwards where you get your arms up, or jumping off your knees, like on the ground, trying to be able, if you can do that, then you've already started to get the foundation of doing a backflip.
He did that last week.
you try that?
I was like, dude, I will put every dollar that I own.
Probably do a backflip.
I was like, dude, I'll put every
In the
dollar
middle of a boardroom
that
meeting,
I have.
I was challenged to do from the ground up to my feet in one motion. I
Our
said,
owner
"I can't
Andy
do this shit."
Frisella was like, you couldn't do that, and I was like, he couldn't do that, and I'd put every dollar that I have on that he couldn't do it, and then he just did it. And I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
no fanfare. Didn't turn it into a thing. No one videoed it. I just
I mean,
took
you
2
did.
seconds.
You were feeling yourself afterwards. You were like, yeah, bitches.
Doubt me again.
Sorry for my language, but that's
Doubt me
basically
again,
your.
dude.
No,
Try to tell
you
you.
should have videoed it. Did you do it because of the challenge? I saw there was a challenge.
My wife didn't believe me. I
About
had to do it again in my own closet.
Oh.
And
That's a on
This is the first time I've heard
limited space
this.
to do that.
and knocked it out.
You went home and you had to
Hey.
brag to your wife, and she doubted you, and then you're like, no, seriously,
No.
watch me.
It was me asking her if she could, so that I could also tell her how I just did it. But then, and just to be clear, shout out Hannah, you couldn't do it.
Oh, we could work on it. She could come.
My wife
come to
cheers.
class.
Can you
Too.
backflip off a diving board?
No, certainly not. I've never
Really?
backflipped in my life.
No kidding.
Like
Wow.
I've never tried. I've never attempted it
Well,
because I'm
not
scared.
doubting you anymore. I will not.
Usually
Well,
fear
if I
is
say
the
I can
biggest
do
thing.
something, I'm never like the guy that tells you he's gonna like, oh, dude, I could do that, and not do, like if I say I can do something, I definitely can because I've done it. But if I say I'm not quick to tell people what I can do, just to be honest.
I only thought you couldn't do it because everyone was making it seem like it was so hard to do.
You can do it right now,
I know probably can, but
easily.
anyways.
Why don't you just do it right now?
No, I'd rather not. We're in the middle of a podcast,
Right?
dude.
For the most part, though, most
just
people
got plenty of
can't
space.
because they're scared. So if
Yeah.
you're physically, if you can jump off the ground and you have a relatively strong core and hip flexors,
Well,
Yeah.
the hip flexors.
yeah. So.
Did you guys know that only 16% of our viewers are actually subscribed to the channel? It would mean a ton to Kyle and I and all of the people that we have working on this channel that support this channel if you'd hit the subscribe button. It will cost you $0.00, and it's an easy way to support the channel and make this a lot more worthwhile and introduce us to a lot more people. That algorithm is helped greatly by the amount of people that are subscribing, that are viewing, and so it would mean a lot to us. And we'd appreciate it. So if you guys could play a small part in that, we'd really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get back to the episode. And thank you for taking the time to listen today.
So back to what you were talking about. You mentioned the influencers being popular because celebrities, whatever, being popular because they had abs. Mm-hmm. Is there, in competitive cheerleading, is there a dark side to it when it comes to like body image stuff?
Yes. So personally, like I think that was a huge influence on a lot of what we did. And I even now as a coach, I'll hear things at practice and whatnot, and I'm like, hey, we don't need to, talk like that, or, catch kids looking at themselves in the mirror and like squeezing their waist and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't know, there's a lot of influence and it's hard because with the sport that is an aesthetic sport, cheerleading and ballet and all these things, there's a certain look that's often praised. And with cheerleading, it also becomes a whole thing is because, everyone wants to be a flyer. Everyone wants to be the top girl and thrown in the air. Not everyone. There's actually some kids where you're like, you should fly. And they're like, no. When you're like, okay, you don't have to do that. Like, we won't force a kid to go up in the air if they don't feel comfortable. But so there's a lot of influence on being small and shrinking yourself. And that was something that I had always been a tiny person. Objectively, I'm 5 feet tall. And when I started cheering, I started, being a flyer, and I'd say pretty decent at it, and I, loved it. And then started doing competitive cheer, and my friends are subjectively smaller than me. And so you can only put so many people up in the air. And that's something that we have to explain to kids a lot is like, okay, well, if you all go in the air, who's picking you up? Mm-hmm. And so, there's that hard, you have to look at the cost and benefits of
everybody has purpose. Everybody has a job.
Right. And I learned that I actually loved basing, but when I stopped flying and when I started high school, I lost a ton of weight and I stopped eating, and I had an eating disorder. I was anorexic and I got down to 70 pounds. And I remember I would tumble, and because I had gotten all these tumbling skills really fast, and I would start tumbling at school cheer at my high school and at practice, and I would just like bite the dust and I'd land on my face, and I was so weak, and my parents were like, you're not going to cheer anymore if you keep this up. And that was kind of like a huge thing for me because I loved cheerleading more than anything in the world, and I still do. I love it. And so that was like a quick just wake up call, and like all of a sudden I remember my mom was like, it's like she's all of a sudden better, which it's not. You're not automatically better, but everyone's progress is different. But I worked really hard to, gain weight back and whatnot. And so, but that was something that was really challenging for me for several years. And just body image alone and all that with the sport, and you're wearing a crop top and competing. And even, there's like we talked about with all these celebrities, they're known for their six pack. So I remember my friends and we would be doing like hundreds of crunches a day, like every day. And like people would be like posting pictures of their abs.
Just abs.
On early Instagram, where it'd just be the most random pictures, there's no aesthetics or anything. And
they were just psyched to put a filter on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it would just be like, it kind of became like an underlying competition between people, like who's going to get a six pack first. Like, and everyone's genetics are different, as you know, like some people you can be in great shape and your abs just aren't going to show as well as others. And, I was always fairly lean, and I just never had like a six pack, and it drove me crazy. And like, to that extent. And, that was just like all I ever focused on for so long. So
when it came to bringing the food back into your diet and like transitioning back to just, beating anorexia, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you get into a little bit of just kind of some of the methods maybe you used or things that helped you along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I wish I could say it was a quick thing. I physically looked better. However, when it comes to eating disorders, usually when you kind of start coming out of one, you may lean into another one.
Sure.
and you get a little sneaky and you try to hide other things. So, you know, my parents were fantastic. They, you know, took me to all the therapy. I had a high school cheer coach who cared a lot about me, and she was like, she's not well. And she like did a lot to help my parents kind of get me the right resources. And so I did a lot of therapy, kind of figuring out what was causing it in the first place, the underlying. So, you know, a lot of therapy, and then just the desire to be physically able to compete and do skills. And like my friends' moms and whatever, they'd be kind of like hounding on me. They'd be like, have you eaten? Have you? And then it got to where like I wanted to be able to do stuff, but then it was so hard for me I was like, I have to stay small though. So I would be very like weirdly restrictive with certain things. Like at school, I would like not eat breakfast and then eat like a muffin for lunch, which is nothing. And then I would like eat a full meal after school, go to practice, eat a full meal after practice. And like my body was just like, I felt awful all the time. And it took me so long to realize that like you can eat a meal during the day and not gain weight. Like it was such a weird, but like I was eating and I was healthier. So it took several years, and then
your whole relationship with food had to change.
It was crazy, you know.
But it's obviously like a process.
Yeah, no, it was a very long process. I would say I didn't fully get really, really over it. And I think sometimes, you know, I talk to a lot of people who have had similar experiences, and you still have that kind of backlying, you know, you have thoughts in your head and whatnot, but now I think I try to think so much more logical and think, you know, I need this and I need to be strong and I need to feel good. And it, you know, I don't need to have a six pack, you know?
Right. Fuel your body, nourish
Right.
your
Did
body.
you, did you know, when you were in high school, did you have social media? Was that,
Yes.
how, I don't know how old you are.
Yeah.
But.
I'm 28. Took me a second. Yeah. It was like brand new. Instagram. Vine was a huge thing, you know?
6 second bit.
Was that,
Yeah.
do you think that contributed to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just, everyone just started comparing everyone to everything. And, you know, and
it's almost like social media is not really healthy for everybody, is it?
No, it's very dangerous.
I just think also when you're really young, it couldn't, you know, I mean, it's not good for a young kid to, I mean, they're already comparing themselves at cheerleading practice to
Every
have
day.
to go home. And it's like, well, I'm at home. I'm also going to do that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
there was one thing, and you know, it's kind of ironic is I saw this, it was like a TikTok or something a few weeks ago. And it was like, you know, what was the wildest diet you've ever done or something? And I commented on it. And there was something, it was a made up thing. It wasn't like a legitimate
They're like
thing,
the Twinkie diet. Or,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But there was a, when I was in high school, there was, and I'm sure like people who did competitive cheer during this time would know what I'm talking about.
The celery juice diet?
No, it was called the Cheer Athletics World's Diet 2012. And it wasn't actually like Cheer Athletics, the company and the brand didn't like make it. I think it was just some random kid or something that probably like made it up.
Yeah, it wasn't like endorsed by them.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, no. So it's not affiliated with the brand or anything, but
What
like
was the diet, Luke?
it's probably, you can probably Google it actually, but it was like Dasani water only, deli meat, like wild, weird restrictions. And then it would have like, there was like an ab circuit that you would do too. Cause so many of the girls that cheered there were the girls with the six pack. So it's like, oh, they must do this to look like this.
Right.
So I commented on this TikTok and I was like, Cheer Athletics World's Diet 2012. So many people liked it and like responded and were like, oh my gosh, like this is so niche. And I was like,
Deep cut.
yeah, that was a thing. I was like, I never like followed it because you could only drink Dasani water.
That's a Coca. Some exec. at
Dasani
Coca-Cola
water
came up with
increases thermogenesis. Everyone knows
that.
this.
Throw it up, Luke. Throw it up. This is it, dude.
Yep, there it is. Yep, it's like a piece of paper.
Wow.
Yeah, no ranch or Caesar,
Yeah.
no pasta.
Sugar-free gum is a move. It
Yeah,
really is
please,
if you're
no
dieting.
sauce.
No wheat then specifically.
Yeah.
Don't eat past
Lay
7,
off
of
the
course.
cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No candy. I feel like that's a given. You know, I feel like you didn't have to put that.
You can tell a kid made it. Yeah, like
No
it's,
desserts, even the cookies you bring to the gym.
Yeah.
yeah, if
Lay
it's your
off
birthday,
the cheese,
like
lay off the bread.
Now,
do not eat past 7.
no
No
alcohol,
boys.
no boys,
That's the best part of this whole thing.
no fun.
No boys.
Yeah, no boys, bad influence.
You
I
may
like
have
the note.
only 2 meals a day. Choose wisely.
It's so.
I do love that Dasani sponsored it. You know, how much do we gotta pay?
People actually followed this.
I don't know.
just
Unfortunately, I'm sure some teenage
For sure.
children did, at one point or
When
another.
I was a teenager, I thought that we got these new naked juices at the high school, and I was just drinking a naked juice every day as like my lunch. Like I hadn't eaten any real food until after high school, like until after school was over.
Yeah, I was the same way, and I was like,
I
"This
didn't
is so
chew
healthy."
until after school.
I grew up wrestling, and I wasn't good. I wasn't like you in cheerleading. But I had to make weight all the time. And I remember being, basically 5 pounds overweight on like a Thursday, and I'd weigh in on Saturday. And I just would be like, all right, I'm done eating until I weigh in.
Yep.
And I literally just wouldn't eat.
Sweat it all out, and then you'd be like a raisin.
I just think kids, it's so easy for kids to fall into that because one, they're dumb. It's like when I was that age, I was like, well, I'll just stop eating, and then of course I'll lose weight. And I also would stop drinking too. Like I wouldn't drink any water. So I'd be going into, a wrestling tournament dehydrated.
Yeah.
But then also it's like, a lot of times the people that are giving the advice to a kid are not very well versed in it either.
Right.
So, I had a football coach that was like, you just need peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You probably heard that
Classic.
too. Classic move.
Yeah. Roll them up in a tortilla.
I feel like it's getting better now, though. I feel like influences for kids, there's a lot more support for kids nowadays than there were, 10 or 15 years ago.
And I think that's because of our generation that went through all of these things. And, like people I coach with now are all about the same age as me. And a lot of us had very similar experiences as I did. And, we learned how horrible that was for our health and our mental health and all these things. And that's why, like I said, I was like, when I see kids, saying things about their bodies or, doing things or whatever at practice, like we try to shut that down. We just try to not say certain things, or like even with like stunting or whatever, we try not to label a kid as like, your only role on this team is to be a flyer or whatever, because they're more than likely, if they stick with it until they're on the highest level, they may not always be a flyer. Like it's just, you become an adult by the time you're 18 and you're in your adult body, but there's also 12-year-olds on your team. Those are probably going to be your flyers. And so we try not to make that their whole identity, because, if you suddenly end up having to base, it just rocks your world, and it's so devastating, and it's valid, because that is your identity. But at the same time, it's like, where do the pieces fall with the team? So we really, really try hard to.
It's like the eyeballs are always going to draw to the people flying through the air, and so they're like, "Am I not as important now?" And it's like, got to really celebrate the bases too.
Right. Which when I wasn't flying on my competitive team, and I was like kind of bummed about it, but I still flew at high school cheer, and I would do all these like private lessons and stunting and all this stuff, and I enjoy basing. I thought it was so fun. Except, when you get knocked by a foot, but whatever, it's part of it. But, so I remember I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to do whatever I can to be seen, because you talked about like, people always think, oh, your eyes always go to the flyer, always go to the flyer. Like, well, stunting's only a fraction of a routine. So there's other portions where you're front and center. So, I would do everything I could to be front and center for everything else. And I was for a lot of stuff. And I remember one time a girl I cheered with made a comment. She was like, "Is it just the Paige show?" And I was like, "Well, no, because I'm in the back throwing the stunt." So I'm like, there's a part where I'm not in the front, but it's like you can do so much more to be a star than just be a flyer.
Now I got one last question on cheerleading, because I want to transition to the gym.
Dude, they're not holding tryouts. You can't be a base.
You could.
Do you remember Missouri State was all guy-girl, dude?
Oh,
there was a guy for
I
every
know,
girl.
and you thought about trying out, and you decided you couldn't make it because you couldn't touch your
It's
toes.
just a power clean. You don't have to touch your toes if you're a boy at
Unreal,
certain
Kyle.
schools. Yeah.
You can get up off your knees.
See how Kyle was a bully, and he still is?
Oh,
He's crushing
this
come
guy,
on,
dude.
listen, dude.
All this to really be said, like one of the most popular TV shows over the last couple months has been the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders show, America's Sweethearts.
Yes.
How accurate of a depiction would you think that those tryouts were to like what it was like for you in competitive cheer growing up? Did any of that give you any memories, if you will?
Very different. I don't think that is very extreme. Like and especially like the gym I did competitive cheer at, it's such a great it's such a great community, such great coaches, and everyone is so level-headed that it was never even like a, we're not going to, on the show with that, they're talking about like, oh, we're going to cut her because of what she looks like and stuff like that. Like with competitive cheer, like we want the tall girls. We want the girls, with the muscles and, that can do the hard skills. Like we want athletes, and not saying by any means that those people aren't athletes. They're extremely athletic, but it's so much more than aesthetics and what you look like.
Isn't an NFL cheerleader more of a dancer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is dancers. I could never be an NFL cheerleader because I'm not a dancer. Because I'm like, my sister was a competitive dancer, and I always joke, I'm like, you had way more chances of being a NFL cheerleader than I ever would have been.
Mm-hmm. So it's just, that's really the biggest difference is there's no stunts. It's more dance.
Yeah. I think
focused.
I want to say, back.
They lead cheers.
Yeah. Once upon a time, I think there was some stunting. I believe even like the Chiefs cheer, like probably like 30 years ago, did some stunting once upon a time. But it's transitioned into pretty much only dancing. So, which I respect what they do, but it would be cool to see more cheerleading, like how college cheer is, like that you can have both. They have the pom and the dance, and then they have the cheerleaders for college, and it's not as much like that with NFL.
How does this, and I want to talk about the time that you were in senior year and you were telling us how you were looking to get ready to hopefully go to KU, but the coach that you had built a relationship with had retired. So had this new coach, and just tell us about that story and what forced you to think in your head, like, I don't really know if I want to go there. And then helped you, I guess, spur you into fitness and helping others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had my hopes and dreams. I always wanted to cheer at KU. It was kind of just like my, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do this. That's all I really knew in high school too. And I used to drive out to Lawrence a lot and do a ton of private lessons with the boys that were on the teams and do stunting and all that with them. So I just was really dead set on it. And, the coach at the time, he had, stepped away. I think he just didn't really want to coach anymore. And so he stepped away, and so the program had a kind of weird shift for a while. So there was a coach there, and I don't even think he made it through a season. They have great coaches now, by the way. They're people that actually know, and they're awesome. They're from Oklahoma State. And they've done wonders with this program. But when I was going into freshman year, before they had come there, this coach, I was, tumbling, and I was obviously a lot healthier. I was able to tumble again. I had hit my peak. I was doing a lot of really advanced skills. And he had come up to me and he was like, "Oh, well, you're really good. Are you trying out this spring?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am," thinking he was going to say something that like he was excited or something. And he was like, "Well, you should probably think about losing 30 pounds before you come here." And I just remember like my dad had driven me there because it was like late at night and driving to Lawrence, and I was in high school, and I was like sobbing hysterically the whole way home. And I was like, I can't even cheer there because if I lose all that weight, I was not going to be able to do the skills I could do. I was so physically weak when I was that tiny, landing on my face. And, there's a lot of programs that would pride themselves on, they had very strict restrictions on like your girls can only weigh so much and they can only be so tall. And no matter how good you are, it didn't fit their look. And I think that this coach is trying to morph them into that. And so it led me to wanting to go to Oklahoma State. And I cheered there for a little bit. I loved it. I made a lot of great friends. But I started getting into strength training because we had mandatory workouts. And because I would go to Planet Fitness and, all the, like in high school, everyone does. And I'd run 7 miles on the treadmill. And I was like, oh, I'm doing this for cheer. I'm going to get so much better at cheer by running this much, which like, if you know anything about training, it's like, that doesn't help you with cheerleading at all. Just training your heart. I was a great distance runner. And then we started doing our workouts and all that. And I was like, this is kind of fun. I like it. And it just kind of showed me that you can be strong. And the stronger I was, the easier it was to do things. And it kind of led me into, once I quit college cheer, I transferred back to KU from Oklahoma State. I just got burnt out, stopped cheering. I got into there, and then I decided to start working for a gym and work at the front desk. And I was like, this is super fun. I was going to school to be a therapist, ended up not doing that because I got into personal training and started my career in fitness. And I just learned to love just the feeling of training your body. And when I would work with people, seeing the progress that people would make. And especially, I worked with a lot of older geriatric clients at first when I was personal training, and just seeing these people being able to move again was really rewarding. So that's kind of what got me into fitness.
That's amazing. you got into group fitness beyond that too. So it's just like now you're starting to get more into like, working within fitness.
Yes.
What was that journey like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was personal training. I was actually taking a break going to grad school. And I was doing training kind of like a side hustle. I really had no intention of having a lifelong career with fitness. I thought that it would just be like a nice little side hustle kind of thing. And then I got offered a job as like a personal training manager at this small gym at the time. And at the time it was right before COVID actually. And in my mind, I was like early 20s. I was like 21, 22. And I remember thinking like, I'm going to do this for 6 or so months, put it on my resume and move to Dallas. I don't know. That's just where my mind was at. And then COVID happened and I was kind of like, all right, I'm not going anywhere. And then I had kept my job. I started doing like a virtual program with people, and I would drive to these people's houses and drop off like a body fat handheld scanner. And we did this challenge, and it was like a huge hit when everything was closed because people couldn't come to the gym. So we were just like selling the heck out of these. And we started doing that. And, I was like, I started really liking what I was doing. Then I got into managing that gym for a little while. And I was there for a little bit. They had moved to a new location, and it was booming for a little bit. It was me and another girl, and we ran the heck out of this gym. It was super great. It was all women. It was a 24/7 fitness, and we were doing really well. We had a lot of personal trainers, and it was super fun. And I wasn't really coaching any at all at that time because I had transitioned from being the PT manager, and this other girl kind of started taking over doing the consults, and I started doing more of the management and the sales of the studio, which I really, really enjoyed. Then I started working with another concept that had, group fitness and whatnot, and I just learned the ropes on all of that. Little later on, I stayed with them for a few years, and I ended up leaving, and I worked with F45 for a little bit too, and that was kind of my first experience coaching with that kind of group fitness style, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, I can do this. I can hang. And I liked it. I really did. It's just, it didn't feel right for me. And so I left after a few months, and then I decided to start class. And it kind of just happened that way.
Amazing.
Did the experience that you had with the, once you joined into group fitness, was was that experience enough to give you confidence, or were you kind of nervous with starting your own thing? Like how big of like back and forth were you after you left it at 45?
Yeah. So, when I actually had started at F45, I was already kind of dead set that I was like, I'm going to start my own thing.
Yeah, you're just using it as like a bridge.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do, where I was going to go. And so I was like, I'll just get another job while I'm waiting to figure my life out. It was really scary, but I feel like there was never a time that I wasn't certain that I was going to do it. So as soon as I had lost my previous job, it was just kind of like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I had so much experience in the industry from managing several gyms, several people, doing all different roles and positions. I had missed working with other employees, like working and managing other managers and teaching people how to sell memberships. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, and creating a good experience, having them create good experiences for their members at their locations. And so that was something I kind of yearned for. And I think that's what I didn't love about when I was at 45, because it was just, I was a studio manager and just kind of doing my thing, and so it was just kind of like, okay, I'm starting over, and I just couldn't buy into it. But when I was working there, just like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, I have this idea. It's, I thought about it over and over and over again, and it would keep me up at night. And I was like, there's not enough strength in these classes. Like, it was just so cardio, so high intensity. And I really felt like there was a better way, or my personal opinion, a different way of doing it. And that's kind of where I started. So it was a huge jump, and I went from like bank to bank to bank, like begging to get a loan. But I was a 26-year-old, just lost my job. So I had I had very little other income, and I had bought a house like 6 months before. So life hit like a bus.
Debt to income ratio, not so high.
Oh no, it was terrible.
Yeah.
They're
Put that thing up for collateral.
Yeah, no, literally. And so I'm like, I just bought my house. I can't pay my mortgage. I don't know what I'm doing. And, so a lot of these, banks were like, no. And fortunately enough, I just met the right person at the right time, and I kind of pitched my ideas. I came up with like a whole 5-year business model and all this stuff and presented it to him. And he was like, you know what? I don't know how we're going to make it work, but we're going to make it happen. Cause he's like, I really, really believe in your ideas. And he could see how passionate I was about it. And so I was fortunate enough, I got a loan. And then my dad helped me kind of fix up my house faster than we intended on. And we sold it. And so I made a little money off of that to live for a few months. And then we got class started. So
where there's a will, there's a way.
yeah. Oh no. And it's still like that. That's the thing. You know, it's obviously we've created a brand and we're opening our second location and things are great, but certainly, you know, we're not in smooth sailing yet. You know, I think it's always going to be a lot of hard work. And if it wasn't, I'd be bored.
There's a little secret about business. It's never smooth sailing.
Right. And if
there's
it
always
is, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always something that is going on that's stressful.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And so it just kind of happened. So my friend who I had met through one of my other jobs, she quit. She was like, peace out. She's been so awesome. Her name's Victoria. She's an incredible trainer. She's worked at a couple of places, and we had a very similar pipeline of our upbringing of she did competitive cheer and she grew up here and we had all similar friends. We had personal trained at same places, different times. And then we ended up at the same place. And she was such a huge part of getting us started. So she did all of our programming at first. She taught at least half the classes. She helped me come up with the classy design and everything. So I give her so much props to everything that class is. So I couldn't have done it without her.
Nice.
But yeah, so we were just kind of like diving in. And I remember we would like sit in a Starbucks with our computers and like we'd write workouts and we'd just like figure it out, or she'd be writing all the programming and I'd be working on all the other stuff. Like, and I would just like redo it over and over and over again on just like how it was going to be modeled, or would it all be timed? Would it all be this? And it kind of all just fell into place. I can't even really put a timeline as to when we hit that this is what it's going to be kind of thing.
Have you taken a chance to really like sit back and like smell the roses, if you will? Because I mean, this is something that you've been dreaming up for a long time. And so to see it play out in real life, in real time, and people love it so much that you're able to open a second one. Yeah. Has it just been a labor of love, or, you know, can you think about the time where it really hit you?
Yeah. You know, there's a few times like, when I actually like a week or so ago, I got the keys to the other location, and I think I've just been so anxious and stressed about making sure this next one is perfect that I haven't even really been able to take a full step back and be like, we're still doing this and we're taking the next step. And I felt like I kind of took the next step a little more premature than I would have originally planned, but it just it happened in the right way. I found the space and it was such a good location that I was like, I have to do this. And I got a really good deal on, our rent and whatnot. And so it was just kind of like, I talked to my boyfriend and I called my parents too, because I was like, I have to talk to people and talk to some mentors. I was like, is this stupid? And they're like, no. They're like, you can do this. And so I was like, all right, well, it just feels like we're starting over almost, but now we have a brand. It exists. I have testimonials. There's people who come every day because they love it. And it's so different than when we first started, because I remember selling something that didn't exist when we did our first pre-sale, and it was just an empty, what used to be office space with just a little sign on the wall, and me and Victoria sitting at a desk, and people would walk in. I was like, all right, well, here's what it's gonna be. And people just had to trust it, and they did. And some of them, like, I'd say almost every single one of the like founding members that first started before we opened are still there, and they love it and they swear by it. And being able to kind of step back and see that, and just like when people say things like that, it's very validating, because I feel like when we started it, I was constantly thinking like, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. And I had to keep reassuring myself that this is good. This is cool. This is going to be awesome. Women are going to love this. And hearing that from people who actually experience it and seeing it is so rewarding. And like, there's been times where I'll like start to like tear up, because I'm like, how do we do this? But it's been a lot of work. I can't lie. Like, I am exhausted all the time. So I feel like I should take a little more, or give myself a little more credit sometimes. But I'm such a critic to myself that I like look at it and I'm like, you're not done yet. You haven't done it all yet. You haven't
Sure.
you haven't accomplished what you want to do yet. So
That's you can't lose that, because that's what makes people successful. You can't lose the desire.
Gratitude doesn't mean stop and smell
Right.
the roses and then do nothing afterwards, right?
right, exactly.
The desire to grow, and then the desire to like, I could always be doing better. It doesn't, like Jeff just said, it doesn't allow for you to kind of sit back and think about, reflect on, where you've came from very much. But don't ever lose those two things, because when we have people on the podcast and like, oh, we're not really, and you're like, oh, if you're not growing, you will eventually. You got to have like a bigger picture in
You're always
mind.
moving in one direction.
Yeah, because if you don't have that bigger picture in mind, people eventually are just going to kind of fall by the wayside.
Oh,
so.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's even, I think that might also be part of why I kind of, I appreciate where we've gotten, but at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Like, we got to keep going. We got to keep doing more. We got to keep making the original location better. We have to keep upgrading it. We have to, open this one and make it just as good, if not better. And then what's next? Where are we going? Are we going to the Missouri side? Are we doing this? How can we keep that great experience too that people have in Shawnee at the other locations too? And that is
Don't
huge,
dilute.
huge thing.
Yeah.
What is the like if there is a mission or a why behind the class concept?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that would be?
I take so much pride in it. Is a genuinely female oriented safe space. So there are so many women that walk in that have never touched a barbell in their life, and they're terrified. And they see other women doing it, and they even already start forming opinions and ideas like, I can't do this. There's no way I could do that. And seeing the progress they make in their confidence, other than just all the aesthetics and all the other stuff, that is what's so important.
It's like the internal transformation of the external.
Yes, exactly. And just seeing people grow in their confidence of themselves and their ability to do things. And where, a lot of times people kind of form these ideas like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not strong enough to do that. And it's like, you can't yet. You haven't gotten there yet. It doesn't mean it's too late. You're not too old. It's never too late to start. Or you're not too weak, or you're, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't do something. And that's the big why behind it. And it's such a great space for women. And sometimes it's a good place for girls to be girls. Like, we'll talk about stuff sometimes in class and we can all laugh and have fun. And a lot of people say that the great thing about it is it's not a huge group. Like, some places will have like 20, 30 people or more in a class, where we keep it smaller at 16 tops. And it's nice because as a trainer, I feel like I can like talk to my whole group when we're warming up. And that's kind of the shtick that I like to have is, we'll give them like a 5-minute warm up or something, some mobility work. And we do a lot of mobility, a lot of functional work that's actually productive for their long term, instead of just how many calories can we burn in a workout. It's like, okay, there's so much more to working out than calories and heart rate. But we'll be doing our warm up, and a huge thing that I like to do is just kind of like find little things to talk about that people can maybe start talking to each other and just become social. And that is a huge part of it. Is it's more of like a social club. And they've formed friendships and all these other things that is so rewarding to see, and they'll go out together and do all this other stuff. So just
Built like a real community.
Yeah. That's the best part about it. And that's what I'm really all about is, helping their lives get better in more ways than just fitness.
I love that. We ask one question to every single one of our guests at the very end, and I want to make sure we ask you the same. Kyle, what's that
a Kansas City native? So you probably are going to have a pretty good opinion on this. What is the best barbecue in Kansas City?
I am a big Q39 fan.
Very popular answer.
I love Q39. My family, I grew up on a lot of Jack Stack. Jack Stack's pretty good.
Also good. Mm-hmm. Go to the one in Martin City.
Yep.
It's not very far from where you grew up.
Yep.
So.
Down Stillwell.
Mm-hmm. So good. I agree. Q39, Jack Stack, I would say those are the most popular. Those are our favorite.
Those are, I mean, like, you can't mess them up. They're the most consistent too.
Right.
Every time you have it, it's great. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
That's where we want to.
Yeah.
You've told some phenomenal stories, and you guys are growing. You got this new location coming out in Overland Park.
Yeah.
What is that? What's that address for people?
Yeah. So we're at 11834 Quivira Road Yeah, there they are. So we have Shawnee. So we're just right off 67th and Lackman. Oh yeah, see, you can claim your founding member discount. We have our pre-sale this Saturday.
You can be classy.
Yeah, you can be classy. So yeah, we've got Shawnee. We're right between Merriam, Lenexa. We're right around there, and then we have Overland Park. We're a little more on the south side. We're on 119th and Quivira. So we kind of hug between Overland Park and Olathe.
Mm-hmm.
So. We've got that whole kind of side over there, but either way, you're kind of right off a highway with either location. So, you can do a free class, but we're doing pre-sale at Overland Park. So we're opening
When's that
in
slated
October.
to open? October.
Yeah.
Okay, real soon.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting
Yeah.
times.
On the clock.
Yeah.
On the clock.
Oh yeah. I'm painting the whole place myself and I've been covered in paint. So I'm going to go finish doing that later today, but yeah, we're rocking it out. We're doing our pre-sale event this Saturday.
Paige, we are so pumped for you. We're so pumped for your gym, your members. They're, the group's only going to grow. The community's only going to grow. Our Merriam location absolutely loves all of the gals and you that stop by. And I know they come to the gym often and say what's up and pass out recovery and so forth. So thank you for working with us. Thank you for being with us today, telling us your story. And we look forward to having you on again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Yep.
Thank you.